video in sync. So I'm going to start fresh. So in this section, we're going to discuss about SSIS BI concepts, and from where to where the data flows and how the reports, how you can generate the reports, and why we are jumping into SSIS instead of starting with SSIS. So before going to that, let me start here with the things that we discussed in the first session. That is how the data flows from, how the raw data is converts into valid information. So this is the first part, that data from different sources will be moved into one database, this one, using SSIS integration services, and this one will be converted to cube using SSAS, and the third part is generating SSRS reports using SSRS. So these are all the three different things. How a team works. How a team works in for a real project. Generally, in small companies, you will have a same guy or same team working on all the three. That is SSIS, SSAS, and SSRS. So these set of guys are masters in all the three. This is how small companies in India operates. Not only in India, in most of the many parts of the world. So if you see the big companies, I mean MNCs or CMM level 4 or level 5 companies, it will be like this. There will be different teams for each tool. So this team will be working on SSIS, this team will be working on SSAS, and this team will be working on SSRS. So if you have three different teams working on three different tools, then why can't I start with SSAS here? If I say there are three teams working on three different tools parallelly, that means all the three tools are independent of each other. It is not mandatory that this guy should know SSIS to work on SSAS. It is not mandatory. And at the same time, this guy need not know what is SSRS. This guy can be independent. This guy can be master in OLINK SSAS technology. In the same way, this guy concentrates only on SSIS part. You don't need to know what is happening in SSAS and what is happening in SSRS. In the same way, SSRS guys, they will concentrate only on SSRS solutions. So that means all the three tools are independent. You can be mastered in any one tool. It is not mandatory that you have to go for all the three tools. If you are good in SSIS, that is good enough. But you should remember one thing, remember one point, you should have master knowledge in any one of the tools or intermediate knowledge in all the three tools. This is how people look for. This is what people look in you whenever they take interview. They will expect the same. Either you are master in any one tool or intermediate knowledge in all the three tools, or master in one tool and intermediate knowledge in remaining tools. So as these three tools are very independent, these three tools are not at all related. There is a small link, but the teams does not need to know about the remaining tools. So that is why even if you start with SSAS, it is not a big deal. Or you can start with SSRS. Learning SSRS first, go back to SSAS, and go back to SSIS. So the flow can be in any way while learning the technology. But the projects, generally while explaining how the BI project starts and ends, it will be like this. From here to here, SSIS, SSAS, and then SSRS. Now let me tell you one thing about these BI projects. Let me take different colors here. So I will get data from different sources, all right? this is how I'll get, let's say, different sources or same source. I'll get data from sources. I'll move it into destination. And I'm calling this project, the project which is helping me, the one which will be here. The project which is helping me to move the data from different sources or single source to destination is called as integration service project. So for this integration service project, the source is some database. It can be Oracle, it can be SQL Server, or it can be both. So what is the source that is required to start working on this project, SSIS project? It is nothing but database and data in it. So what is the destination? Destination is again a database. So I'm getting different data from different sources and I'm pushing it into one destination. When I'm working on this part, just concentrate only this part. Don't worry about the AS and RS part. Do you need to know about SSAS and SSRS? It is absolute. The answer is no, obviously. Why? Because my job, what I bother when if I am an SSIS resource, what I worry about is whether my requirements are clear and the data source is available and data destination is available. So if these three things are available, this SSIS team can start working on the project, right? Now, let me take different color. Oops, that is gone. So better. Let me take different color now. That is about SSIS. Let's discuss about SSIS. So SSIS is nothing but it converts one database in two-dimensional format to a different database in multi-dimensional format. So this is SSIS output, and this is IS output, and this is the project which we are using to convert the database to cube or SSIS cube, we call it as. So here in this case, the previous part of this, before this part, before getting this data, what we're doing to get this database? We're using SSIS, different sources, and SSIS solution here, and moving it into this database. But this guy, the guy who is working in SSIS projects, need not worry about what's happening here until this. You don't need to know what's happening there. What he has to concentrate on is whether he has a database which acts as a source. If this guy is having this, then he is very much ready to go. So if this guy has source, you don't need to worry about what's happening with SSIS team. It is entirely independent. Okay, it is not dependent on what job SSIS. So let's say let me tell you one example. All the three teams will start working parallelly. This guy will start working before this guy finishes the work. We cannot wait SSIS team to finish their work. Okay, but SSIS team will start working, and similarly SSRS team will start working on SSRS report. They don't wait for SSAS or SSIS to complete their jobs. Now if you see here, for SSIS they need database, either database or SSAS cube, any one thing as source, and SSRS team will be here and it will generate reports, RS reports. So this guy don't worry about whether this cube is completed or not, or whether this IS job is completed or not. He worries about whether he has some source to which it has to point and whether he has the requirements. So what I'm trying to say here is, one second, let me take this. If this is your SSIS team, and this is your SSAS team, and this is your SSRS team, These guys will get dummy data from clients. That means a dummy database with 1000 records or 2000 records or something like that. What these guys will do, these guys will generate the IS database or the destination database. Okay, and there will be no data, but the structure will be created. What are all the columns, and they will have some junk data like 10 records, 15 records, dummy records we call it as, or junk data. Okay, they'll make this ready, and these guys will start using this even before the complete work is done by SSIS team and the data is loaded. Even before the data is loaded, these guys will start. Why? Because these guys need the structure. Data, it's secondary. Once it moves to production, you can think about data. What they need is, what is the structure that they have to refer. Okay, and these guys will create a SSIS solution with that junk data, and these guys will start working on this, and these guys will generate reports here. Okay, now if you see the flow, clients has given junk data here, and these guys started working and they designed some junk database here, and these guys using this junk database, this should be finalized based on requirements given to the SSIS team. These guys uses this, and these guys will create this based on the requirements given to the SSIS team, but with junk data. And here these guys will use this, point to this, and these guys will create reports. We can call it as empty reports, almost all empty templates. You will have only 1 or 2 records based on the requirements. So no guy, no team will wait for the other team to finish their task. They will continue. These guys will keep on pestering these guys, asking for, give me the template, give me the structure, give me the database. Or whether it is having junk data or full data, I don't bother. Give me the structure. What structure? What is your database? Okay. And these guys will pester, man, you can think about the data later. Give me the structure. Give me the skeleton. Okay. This is the last team, so these guys doesn't have any pressure. So these guys, RS guys, will pester AS guys. AS guys will ask, will be behind these IS guys for empty database. So this is how they start working, but there should be sync between teams. AS team should be in sync with IS team, and RS team should be in sync with AS team. So indirectly, all the 3 teams should be in sync. And once the job is done, once the project is completed, the project, 90% of the projects will be completed with the junk data. They don't give production data. Okay, they will give only junk data. Once it is done, this guy will deploy his project in production. This guy will deploy his project in production. Trial run, I can call it as trial run. This guy will deploy his project in production. So here, clients again will come into picture, and they'll give full data. And hence, the output will be the same database, but with full data. These guys, once this project is executed, and then these guys access this full data and generate a cube with full data. And these guys will point to this full data, and the reports will be generated with the full data. So this is how the development phase and the production, while moving to the production, there will be a lot of difference. The main difference is data. While working on development part, they will work on junk data, and they will go with assumptions, lot of assumptions. The assumptions data wise, thinking that a particular column, I'll get proper data, I will not get special characters, I will not get percentage symbol in that. So these kind of assumptions will be there. So all of a sudden, when they move it to production, then they will face a lot of data related issues. For example, if these guys designed a database here saying that pin code, I'll get only integer values. But if the clients are passing some brackets and so on in the pin code, then it will throw error. So these kind of data issues, and we will discuss about all these data issues in future sessions. But try to understand this is how the development will be done in any project, and once the projects are moved to production, then this is how the data will be flown from source to the destination, that is reports in our case here. So now we got clear picture what will be done if you have separate teams and if you have single team. If you have single team, there will be always in sync. They know what they're doing. If you have separate teams, then there should be good coordination between teams. But unfortunately, always these teams will be fighting in real time. Now, let me go back. SSIS, SSAS, and SSRS. So this comes first, but why we are starting SSAS? This might be the question. It is there in most of you guys, for most of you guys. So now let me answer why I'm starting SSAS before starting SSIS. There are a couple of reasons. One is all these three tools are independent. No tool is dependent that you have to know SSIS to learn SSAS, or you need to know SSAS to learn SSRS. It is not like that. You can learn any tool in any order. Why? Because there's no need of other tool knowledge to learn any one tool here. Like you don't need to know SSIS to learn SSAS. You don't need to know SSAS to learn SSRS. Okay, learning part I'm saying. That is one reason. And second reason, I split the contents into 5: SQL Server Basics, SQL Server Advanced, SQL Server, let me call it as B, that is Basics, and A, that is Advanced SQL. And the remaining 3 are SSIS, SSAS, and SSRS. Here, if you see, for working or for discussing about SSIS, we need SQL Server Advanced Concepts too. But what we completed is just SQL Server Basics, and this SQL Server Basics is enough to go with SSAS projects and SSRS projects. You don't need to know much about SQL Server to work on SSAS, and you need to know little bit on SQL Server to work on SSRS, and you need to be master in SQL Server, or you need to know advanced concepts of SQL Server to work on SSIS, like transactions, logs, stored procedures, and so on. Parameterized queries, views, so many things you need to know. That's why I started with SQL Server Basics, and I will go through SSAS first, and then SSRS, and then SQL Server Advanced. I'll be back to SQL Server Advanced after SSRS, and then jump into SSIS. We will end our sessions with SSIS. And it is not a big scene to start with SSIS. You can start with any tool. If you wish to go with, then I will start with SSRS also. Okay. So this is why we are starting SSIS. This is the reason. Here, let's discuss about couple of data warehousing terminologies which are very important in interview point of view, and also to work on BI projects. Our concentration should be on working part, not on interviews. Okay. So SSIS sources and the destination. And SSAS source and destination. Finally, SSRS can have two different kinds of sources, and destination is reports. Okay. Now we have to discuss couple of things. The first thing is OLTP, and the next one is OLAP. So the first one is called as OLTP and the second one is called as OLAP. OLAP. What is the difference between these two? This is a must and should interview question if they stress you on data warehousing concepts. Okay. Now let's see the difference between OLTP and OLAP. The first, let's see the first, before going to the differences, first discuss about similarities. What similarities we have between these two. The similarities is, this is also a database and this is also a database. Okay. Both are databases. That is the similarity. OLTP stands for online transactional processing, whereas OLAP stands for online analytical processing. Okay, both are databases. Now, let me point out, this is OLTP, this is OLTP, this is OLTP. What is this one? OLAP or OLTP? If you guess it as OLAP, then you are wrong. This is also TP. And the source for this AIS project is OLTP. And the destination of analysis service project is OLAP. Now, let's start with the differences between OLTP and OLAP. As you all know, the similarity is both are databases. But OLTP is two-dimensional database. That means all these guys, you can see, right, this guy or this guy, these are two-dimensional. That means in the form of tables. In tables, how many dimensions we have? Two dimensions. One is rows and another one is columns. Rows is x-axis and columns is y-axis if you see dimension-wise. So this guy is two-dimensional and this guy is multi-dimensional. So let me draw a cube. Cube has 8 faces, right? 8 or 9, I'm not sure. I read it long back. Let's assume this is a cube. I'm poor in drawing. So OLAP is multi-dimensional one. It is not two-dimensional. It is multi-dimensional. Okay. This is one difference. And the next difference, as you can see here, OLTP is nothing but our databases. What you can do with the databases? You can modify the data, you can update the data, you can delete the data, you can insert the data, or you can select the data, right? You can apply DML statements, that is data manipulation language, nothing but your inserts, updates, deletes. You can do all those things in your database, OLTP databases. But in the case of OLAP, you cannot do all those things. You can only select the data and display in report. That's it. There is very long cut to insert the data, but that is not suggestible here. This OLAP is meant for selecting the data. This is one difference. And the third difference, if the data is huge, this OLTP is damn slow. Damn slow. This OLAP is super fast. Okay, if you query the data from OLTP database, it will take some time. Let's assume a query in OLTP has taken 2 minutes, and the same query, similar to display the similar data, it will take less than 2 to 3 seconds in OLAP databases. So these are the major differences you can find between these two, OLTP and OLAP. And forgot to tell you, OLTP is nothing but a database. Our two-dimensional database that you see that we created as part of our SQL Server Basics training sessions, right? So we created a couple of databases. To be exact, we created a database called Microsoft MSBI. So that is a OLTP database. That is two-dimensional. I have only rows and columns. Okay. If I work on SSAS and if I generate a cube, then I call it as OLAP database. The output of SSAS project is called OLAP database, or full form Online Analytical Processing Database. So this one, these guys, OLAP guys, OLTP guys, we call it these as databases or relational databases. Relational means two-dimensional, which uses the format of tables, okay? And this guy, the output of SSAS cube, we call as cube. Cube has many dimensions, 8 dimensions, but this SSAS cube has many dimensions. You can have n number of dimensions in OLAP solutions. So this is the difference between OLTP and OLAP, which is very, very, very important to know. Up to here, this is fine. This is the differences between OLAP, OLTP and OLAP. And OLAP is nothing but the output of analysis service project, whereas OLTP is the input of SQL Server, integration service project, and also the output of SQL Server integration project, and also the input of SQL Server integration project. Why this OLAP will come into picture? OLAP will come into picture only when the performance is poor. When the database, when this guy is pretty big, and if you query the data and if it is taking a lot of time, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to give you the result, in that case, this OLAP, SSAS solution will come into picture and convert that super slow database into OLAP database, which is super fast. Okay. So this guy exists only when this analysis, integration service output database is slow in performance. If the data is huge and if it is taking a lot of time to retrieve the required result, then only this guy will come into picture, or else this guy doesn't exist. So SSAS is not a mandatory one. You can skip it if the data is pretty less. Okay, so that is why I have given two sources here. This can be direct to OLTP, that is SSIS output, this guy here, and generate reports if the database is pretty small, or if the database is pretty big, then go for OLAP and point to OLAP. So this SSRS supports both the databases. If you think that the database is pretty small here, then remove this SSAS layer and directly point to OLTP database to generate the reports. Or if you feel that this guy has huge data and the performance is pretty poor, then include this SSAS layer, generate SSAS cube solution, and the output OLAP you can refer in SSRS projects to generate SSRS reports. Or some guys will use both. Few records, if some tables are there on which I have to generate a report, and if it has only 1,000 records, then they will directly point to OLTP to get that information. And for huge tables, they will work out a cube and they will connect to OLAP database to generate the reports. So this is how the MSBI projects flow from start to end. Now let me tell you, this guy will come into picture, as SSIS will come into picture if and only if the data is flowing from different sources to one destination. If you have data in different sources, or if you're gonna get the data frequently, then this OLTP, SSIS guys will come into picture. And the output of SSIS database solution, that is database, this path is pretty huge and the performance is poor, then SSIS guy will come into picture. And if the end user want to see reports here, then this SSRS will come into picture. Or the funniest part is, this guy client sometimes they will use SSAS solution, that is output of SSAS, that is OLAP, and they will use Excel sheet to generate the report to see the data. They can directly connect to Excel to see the data. In that case, this guy will not come into picture. Some clients will say, I don't want any SSRS reports or any UI to see the data or information. I'm good in, I have master knowledge on Excel. I'll point to Excel and I can generate my reports on the fly. Using Excel, you can generate your reports on the fly using pivots. So in this way, if you see, it is not mandatory that all the three tools should be used in any project. It depends on your requirements and the data availability, how the data is available and what is your requirement. And the most important thing is, it is not if all the three are required, SSIS, SSAS and SSRS. It is not required, it is not mandatory to go with only SSIS or SSAS or and SSRS project types. What I'm trying to say here is, you can go for Informatica than this. If you feel that SSIS will not fulfill your job, you can go with Informatica. So here Informatica will come in the place of SSIS. Informatica is competitor to SSIS. And once the Informatica loads the data to the destination, the data will be taken and you can use SSAS. And for SSRS, you can use some other third-party tool or Cognos you can use. So you can take different tools from different different companies like Oracle BI tools or Microsoft BI tools or IBM BI tools. You can complete one BI project. It is not mandatory that you have to go with all the three tools from the same parent. Okay. So it depends on the requirements. It depends on the availability of the tools and softwares and the candidates availability. And mostly they will see whether which tool, either Informatica or SSIS, fits to the requirement. If they feel that Informatica fits than SSIS, Informatica is better in this case than SSIS, they will go for Informatica for pushing the data from different sources to one destination. And again, they will go for SSAS to generate an OLAP solution. And then they will go for some Dundas charts. These are third-party tools, which is providing reports pointing to the data we have. So this is one important thing to keep in mind. And the next one, you know the difference now, between OLTP and OLAP here. This is OLAP and this OLTP. You know the difference between these two. Then what is the difference between these two? Both are OLTP, but there is a slight difference. These differences are the similarities. First, if you see the similarities, both are databases, again the same similarity, and both are OLTP, online transactional processing. Okay. So the major differences are, this is current database, the database that is active, or the databases that is used by applications. Okay. This is called as data warehouse. Okay. So here something is gone. So these guys current databases. And this guy is called as data warehouse. That means where you will maintain all the historical data. In this case, you will have only current information. Let me draw the picture. So this is the picture, and in this case, this is current database, whereas this case, it has all the historical data, and we call it as data warehouse. So the data using SSI solution, the data that you are moving to the destination where you will maintain all the history is called as data warehouse. As this one is having a very small amount of data, that means last 3 months or last 2 months data, this will be super fast compared to this data warehouse. Why? Because this one will have all the history like 10 years information and so on. It will have some crores of information, some billions of records, but this one will have some lakhs of records. So this one will be super fast. And all the updates, deletes are preferred in this database, whereas in data warehouse, people use it as to select the data and to generate OLAP cube or to generate reports directly. So they don't prefer to update the data in data warehouses. Okay, these are the major differences between OLTP source database and OLTP data warehouse. And now the question is why the applications will be pointing to small data and move the rest of the data to data warehouse. Why it is happening so? The main reason behind this one is take a bank application. I have 1 crore customers in a bank, assume that. And every guy is making a minimum, on an average, every guy is making 2 transactions per day. That means 2 crore records per day. So 2 crore records into 30 days is 60 crore records per month. So for 3 months, it will be 180 crore records. So this guy, if he maintains 3 months information in current database, okay, he will have 180 crore records. And if he maintain 2 years information in the current database, what will happen? The database will become damn huge and people, the applications will hang. Applications in the sense, now where they will enter the deposits and where they will enter the withdrawals and so on. So what they will do is they will make sure what is the maximum limit of the data that an application can handle. Let's say if the application can handle 30 crores or 60 crores of records, so they will maintain 1 month data here and they will push all the history to data warehouse. Okay, and they will have all the history here, and this can be damn huge. No need to worry. Why? Because no application is using this data. This is nothing but a warehouse where you will have all the historical data, and here you will have very less data. Why? Because your application, you don't want your application to be hanged. So this is why they move the data, and how frequently they move the data. It all depends on how many records you are getting per week or per month. If you are getting 50 crore records per week, then people will move the data every week. Weekly they will move the data. And if you observe, if you log into any banking site, they will give you last 3 months transactions maximum. And if you request for any transactions beyond the last 3 months, then you have to raise a request. They will process the data and they will send the transaction details to your mail ID. Why? Because they will have 3 months information here in the current database and the remaining thing in the historical database. So the request you raise will come. If you raise request for last 1 month transactions, they will get it from here. If you raise it for last 6 months or 1 year, it will come here. It will take some time. In background, the query will be processing. The report will be generated, and once it is generated, the mail will be sent to you. So this is how, and this is why they maintain very less data in the current databases, and they move all the historical data into the data warehouse. So the more frequently you are gonna use the word data warehouse. Why? Because we deal with data that is present in data warehouse. We deal with data. So that is why this data warehouse terminology is pretty famous. Whenever you are working on BI projects, you will use it very frequently. So this is about different concepts and related to data warehousing and BI projects. Let me erase all the stuff. Let me take the pen. So this is about the BI part and what you are going to learn from next session and why you are learning that session, why you are learning that as part of your coming sessions. So from next session onwards, we are going to start with SSIS, the very interesting one, pretty interesting one to be frank. As a BI guy, I love to work on SQL Server analysis services, but because the output makes you feel happy. At least I feel happy by seeing the output of SSAS projects. So from next session onwards, we're going to start discussing about SQL Server analysis services for next 10 sessions. Okay. Thank you very much and catch you in next session.